Yeah, at one point at the hotel, we worked 10 months in a row without a day off, 7 days a week. So we were working hard.
New at 6, a Portland man who seems to be taking all the right steps, hitting housing hurdles. And he says it's because he's sober.
K2's on your side, digging into why he's struggling to get out of a safe rest village. K2's Angelica Thornton took his case to the city and county to ask why he is falling through the cracks.
It's 9 a.m. and Naresh Mall is just finishing up his commute home. 1.5 hours each way by bus, MAX train, and foot to get to his job. He works full-time as a night auditor at a hotel near the airport. Naresh has a college degree, a good resume. He's been clean for years, but he's still homeless.
I've actually reached out to the JOHS and left a couple of messages about that, like, hey, I'm a perfect candidate for these, what you guys are trying to do.
Naresh lives at the Peninsula Crossing Safe Rest Village. He ended up here in February after he lost his job as an assistant manager at another hotel. He'd worked there for 3 years, and that gig came with housing. But when they shut down for renovations, he had to move out. Naresh had some money saved up, but says it wasn't enough for an apartment.
It would have been deposit first and last month, and we would have been spent as far as our money goes. And so we would have, we would have had an apartment, but no way of paying for it further on, no food, no way to furnish it, that kind of thing.
After living in a tent, then navigating through various social service programs in Portland, Naresh decided the Safe Rest Village would be the best stepping stone to a more permanent place to live. But weeks after he moved in, he says it was clear he might be stuck here. At what point did you start to get frustrated, maybe wondering what's going on here?
When I reached out to you, actually, that's when I was like, okay, well, because we had that huge meeting. We were like, hey, if anybody wants housing, you're going to have to do this detox and then rehab program.
What did you think when they said that as someone who's clean right now?
Well, my first question was, well, what about us? My girlfriend and I, we're not using.
That was last summer. K2 contacted Mayor Ted Wheeler's office. They talked with Urban Alchemy, the nonprofit that manages the Peninsula Crossing Safe Rest Village, and the city got back to me. In an email, a spokesperson clarified that participation in rehab or detox is not a requirement for entry into housing. But he also said funds for other housing vouchers had run out. He said wellness space was still available for people interested in recovery at the city's temporary alternative shelter site. Exactly what Naresh had been told.
Or you have to go to detox first, and then you move into the Clinton Triangle, and then after 6 months, you would get housing.
After K2 got involved, Naresh says a manager at the Safe Rest Village told him he was on a short list for a voucher. More than 3 months later, he's still waiting. What are they telling you?
There are no vouchers. There's no money. They're not. So the funny thing is, I just recently got told by that same person that they actually never got vouchers here. That in fact, the vouchers were given to other nonprofits that they worked with, and so they would refer these people, the people living here, to them, and then those vouchers were used on them from whoever that was.
K2 reached out to the city to help Naresh figure out what's going on. They referred us to the Joint Office of Homeless Services, which has been criticized for underspending millions of tax dollars generated by the Supportive Housing Services measure. The Joint Office sent us a statement saying in part that recent programs have helped many people move out of safe rest villages and into permanent housing. When I asked about Naresh's case, they said, we are working to increase funding for housing placement throughout the entire adult shelter system, focusing that on shelters that don't currently have those resources built into their program. This includes Peninsula SRV. They also told me for rapid rehousing rent assistance, there is no particular focus on substance use or behavioral health. Urban Alchemy sent K2 a statement saying in part, while we cannot comment on specific cases due to privacy concerns, we are actively working with our partners, including the mayor's office and other agencies, to address gaps in the housing process and ensure that every resident can access the resources they need. Are you frustrated?
Yeah, very, very, especially with the line. I mean, if it was, I would have looked into other options had I known that, the vouchers were not going to be available for God knows how long,
So what's next for Naresh? He tells us he's still grateful he's not living on the streets, but this Safe Rest Village closes in May to make room for Habitat for Humanity homes. Naresh's time here is running out.
I just want to have a place I can call my own and then kind of, progress, I guess you could say.
In Portland, Angelica Thornton, K2 News.
Do you have a story to tell us about our city in crisis? You can send us an email at cityincrisis@katu.com or leave a voicemail at 503-231-4206.